employee engagement is a significant problem right now. It's a symptom of a poor employee experience. What honestly, though, I think frustrates me, and it's kind of almost why I've created this course, is that many people don't realize that we have a leadership problem. Leaders are quite disengaged as well. Leaders, whether they're running a team, a department, an entire business, they have a significant impact on engagement. But there's a lack of discussion on leadership engagement. Many leaders are disengaged because they're stuck firefighting, and that is a trickle-down effect on others. I think way too much firefighting is actually happening. Most leaders sometimes even refer to themselves as firefighters. They solve problems and issues day after day. They tackle the latest crisis. They're spending their time addressing these issues. They're facing bureaucracy. There's walls and silos within the organization. They're struggling to resolve anything. They don't have time, they think, for personal development. All attention goes to just fighting the latest crisis. They're trying to be heroes, but it's just not sustainable. The problem is that most organizations create these themselves. Other leaders create fires themselves. And it all comes down to probably one leader or one team member not communicating properly. It creates chaos, it creates problems, it creates drama, and there's all this fallout. As much as we're more connected as a society, we are less effective at communicating now more than ever, in my opinion. All this issues that we experience in our business, where results are not where they need to be, people are having low engagement, customers are not happy, it's because we're failing to communicate properly. Therefore, we create more firefighting scenarios that leaders have to deal with. That creates a scenario where they're less engaged, and therefore their team is less engaged because the leader's not engaged. It takes us into a spot where as leaders we start to burn out. It takes a toll emotionally, mentally, physically. We're starting to be more exhausted. We start rushing around. We start making more mistakes. When we're firefighting, we're ultimately more reactive. We're spending time trying to combat the latest blaze, but we ultimately need to become more proactive. We need to have the right strategy and roadmap, and we got to be able to plan in advance. But if we don't have the right structure in place, if we're not communicating the right way, we're going to have a tough time. I know many organizations want to improve employee engagement, but we got to start at the root problem that we have to solve here. We have to stop the firefighting that happens for our leaders. So when a leader can be the best version of themselves, when they can be more proactive and take the time to actually design the right systems, to communicate the right way, it's going to work out better for everyone. Now, when it doesn't, though, when there's a lot of firefighting, eventually the culture becomes toxic. Have you ever worked in a toxic culture? I'll tell you, I have. It's not fun. Working in a toxic culture is incredibly dark. It's incredibly negative. There could be office politics. There's backstabbing. There's just an air of negativity everywhere. These cultures are very unproductive. The challenge with being in a toxic culture, or being around people who are toxic, is that it becomes contagious. The more that someone spends time around others who are negative, the more negative we become. So the number one way I think to avoid toxic and contagious cultures as a leader is to choose to be positive. Now, I know that sounds idealistic. It sounds optimistic that you need to choose to be positive, but you're going to be working with people who are negative. You have to choose to not engage. You might have people who point out fault with every single initiative. They are down against everything that could be happening around them. They're just not happy. They're in a miserable spot. Choose not to engage with them. Surround yourself with people who are more positive. Because if you are working only with negative people who bring you down to their level, you're just going to sink. You're not going to be successful. Look, I believe truly that we create our universe around ourselves, welcoming whatever we choose to accept. If you don't want drama, and by drama I mean negativity and a toxic environment around you, avoid it. Avoid going to a meeting where you know that people are just going to complain. It's going to spiral out of control. Some people are really bad at gossiping about specific teams and people, about what they do or they don't do, or perceptions of how they actually think that someone operates. Avoid them. Choose not to engage. If you feed into that negativity, you're going to have a problem. So you have to stop it if you're finding yourself going down that direction. If it's not stopped, look, you have the power to leave a room, to not engage, to not talk about it. When you do so, it also can signal to others that, hey, this is something maybe we shouldn't dwell on, we shouldn't focus on at all. And the other thing to note is that if you have a contagious, toxic culture that you're working in, well, there's a good chance that that's going to follow you home. That's going to put some strain potentially in your relationships with family, with friends, with others that you interact with, because then you bring that negativity elsewhere. Don't let it follow you home. You have to bring that right balance to yourself as a leader. You have the choice to get up and leave. You have the choice to be proactive, to stop fires from happening, to stop negativity from happening. The choice is yours. It's up to you what you decide to do.